that perhaps the one has to undergo a kind of neck year. Am I saying that right? The kind of journey into darkness that that you have recently experienced, and I'm sure most of us have our own version of, and to come out the other side of that with the conclusion not being how do I achieve more as an individual, but how do I convey love? How do I convey Christ consciousness? How do I?
Let's start with that then. So. First of all, it would be best for everyone to orient themselves, and I've tried to figure out what that orientation would mean, and some of it is, and I've used history as my guide, as much as I've been able to, philosophy and religious ideas, all of that, trying to puzzle this out. It's like, well, the love part is, okay, you have to decide. You serve someone, that's an old idea. It's Christ or Satan. Fundamentally, that's an archetypal reality. And what that means in some sense is that you're either working for the betterment of things because you're in favor of being and its flourishing, and perhaps even its playful and beautiful flourishing. You've decided that, despite the horrors of existence, that would drive you to resentment and bitterness and hatred and the desire to destroy. You've decided, no, I'm going to aim up. And that's love. It's like I'm going to aim up, and I'm going to bring everything I can with me. Okay, then the next thing is truth in service of that. And one thing I learned, I think, is that why do you think that your theory about what you want is right? If it's wrong, then you're saying things that are wrong. And so I would say, instead, try this. Say what you believe to be true and accept what happens. And that's an adventure, man. You do that for 10 years, and your life will be so different that you won't be able to believe it. It's unbelievably adventurous to only say what you think is true right there and then, to be in that moment and to have decided that there's no agenda. I'm just going to say what I think, regardless of the consequences. And I don't mean carelessly. I really do not mean that. The absolute opposite of careless. You pay attention to every word. And the consequences are miraculous. Well, you want to look for something meaningful. You're not going to find anything more meaningful, deeper than trying to orient yourself towards the highest good, trying to tell the truth, and trying to further other people's development. You want to look for something meaningful. You're not going to find anything more meaningful, deeper than trying to orient yourself towards the highest good, trying to tell the truth, and trying to further other people's development. It's so rewarding that it's too much. That's the problem with it. It's too much. And part of, I think, why I've been sick is because of that. Too much. Today, I was sitting on Bloor Street, which is a main street in Toronto, and this kid came up. He's about 20, and he said, I don't want to disturb you, but I watched your biblical lectures a few years ago, and they really helped me. And he was going to walk on, and I said, stop. I said, what's your name? And I always ask people, because as soon as you get their name, then you're in a conversation. They know that you want to talk. It's an open invitation. And I do want to talk because I want to find out, okay, I helped this kid, apparently. How? Exactly. What worked? Because then maybe I can do it again, right? So he said, well, it made me rethink my religious belief, and now I'm going to church. And I said, okay, like, are you going every week? He said, I know you don't go to church, or you're not a practicing Christian. And I said, do you go to church? He said, yes, but it's online right now. I said, well, what do you do there? And he goes to the services, and then he has this group of 20-year-olds, and they talk to each other and try to orient themselves properly. And I thought, well, that seems good. That seems like a good thing. So, and he said that, I said, well, what else did you learn that was helpful? And he's going to law school. And he said, well, I learned to stop comparing myself to other people and berating myself for what I didn't have, and I learned how to reward myself for making incremental improvements. And I thought, so he's comparing himself to who he was yesterday, which is dead on. It's like, there's no envy in that, man, and that's a game you can win. And it's an improving game, and anyone can play it. And so I thought, that's great, because now you know how to reward yourself. And so he's in law school in his second year. He said he's going to be a corporate lawyer in New York, so he has this massive opportunity, because that's an immense opportunity. And he's trying to figure out how to integrate his legal education in the corporate world with his profound emergent morality. And I think, yes, great, man. You hear a story like that, it's like, well, that keeps you going no matter what. Like more of that, right? More of that. You can't get too much of that. And then I can tell people, you want to look for something meaningful. You're not going to find anything more meaningful, more deeper than trying to orient yourself towards the highest good, trying to tell the truth, and trying to further other people's development. You want to look for something meaningful. You're not going to find anything more meaningful, more deeper than trying to orient yourself towards the highest good, trying to tell the truth, and trying to further other people's development. It's so rewarding that it's too much. That's the problem with it. It's too much. And part of, I think, why I've been sick is because of that, too much. Partly from observing how much lack of encouragement there has been for people and how many people are starving spiritually and psychologically because of that. I saw that on such a massive scale, but also to just see the consequences of having that addressed to the limited degree I've been able to address it. Like, it happens all the time. I had this guy. It's so strange. This guy walked by this guy the other day on Blur again. And he was kind of a street-looking guy, kind of rough, and bent over about 45, 50, but looking older than that. And he had a mask on, and he wasn't looking so good. And he took his mask off, and he came over to me. I had no idea what he said. "I love you." I thought, Jesus. My friend was walking with me. The guy told me about it. And we walked away. I said, "What do you make of that?" And he just shook his head. He said, "You sure have a lot of people, men coming up on the street saying that they love you." It's like, it's a hell of a thing, Russell. And God, how could you want something more? How could you possibly ask for something more than that? How could anything that was narrowly selfish, let's say, in the sort of grasping capitalist mode, to use the cynical left-wing caricature, and it's not like there's never truth in that, but we're all grasping, that's for sure. How could anything that could possibly produce, even in theory, compete with that? They're not even in the same universe.